Hi, and welcome to another episode of She Leads Biotech, the podcast where we celebrate the achievements of women in the life sciences. If you're a student or recent graduate wondering where your science degree could take you, this episode is for you. Today's guest started her journey aiming for medical school, but found her passion in the lab, earning a master's in medical laboratory science and discovering the vital role laboratory professionals play in patient care. Her curiosity opened doors she never expected, from hands-on lab work to leadership in commercial pharma, proving there's no single path to success in STEM. Along the way, she's been recognized among ASCP's 40 under 40 for her advocacy of alternative career paths in laboratory science and her dedication to mentoring the next generation of women in STEM through Women in Bio's Metro New York chapter. Today, she continues to use her platform to champion education, equity, and opportunity in the life sciences, serving on the board of directors for AI Arthritis, the International Foundation for Autoimmune and Autoinflammatory Arthritis. So please join me in welcoming today's guest, Brittany Bell. Hey, Brittany.
Hi, Sharon. How you doing?
I'm doing very well indeed. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good, good, good. It's Friday, end of the week, ready to settle in for the weekend.
That's right. It is Friday. There's a lot of good stuff going on, and I'm just excited to talk to you.
Well, I am too, you too. And I think we're neighbours, aren't we? Where am I speaking to you from?
So I'm actually in Jackson, New Jersey. If you know where Six Flags Great Adventure is, I'm right down the street from there.
Okay, I do know where it is. I haven't actually been yet, but I am aware of it. So, well, I'm one state over in New York, so that's pretty close. We're pretty close. Say we're neighbours, shall we? Excellent. Now, I'm really excited to talk to you about things that you're excited about, which is very much your passion for mentoring of women and supporting of women. And I really want to dig into that. But can you just tell me a little bit about your career? How did it start for you? Did you discover this space or did it discover you? And what's your journey been like along the way?
Sure, absolutely. Happy to start all the way back from the beginning. So, as a lot of students, I went into college really expecting to go to med school. I thought, that's exactly what my career path would be. I knew I wanted to be a doctor. I thought that was the only way to go, and I set my sights on that. Unfortunately, things happen, as a lot of things do with various different people and their career paths and their, professional paths. I went down a different path. I actually started really liking my laboratory classes. I really enjoyed being in the lab. I liked understanding what was going on from a chemical perspective. It was something that really, got me passionate about waking up every day in school and actually going in and figuring out what was going on. So I took that and I kind of ran with it. I found my own way into laboratory science and I never looked back. So in school, when I was in college, I really sort of looked at what master's programs might be available to help feed that passion. And that led me to a master's in medical laboratory science, which again was sort of the beginning of my entire career path in medicine or in medical laboratory science. It was extremely important, and getting that really great understanding of that particular area of science and healthcare kind of set me on the path moving forward. And that's something that I talk to a lot of young women and young people who are interested in healthcare and being a part of the healthcare journey about how important it is to understand that laboratory science really is behind a lot of the great innovations.
And just for those in our audience that don't know, actually mainly for me that doesn't know, but I'll make it look as if it's for somebody else. Explain to me about the course you did. What is laboratory science?
Sure, absolutely. I went into a master's program at Thomas Jefferson University, and I was in Philadelphia, which is where I'm originally from. And we did everything from, again, very, very simple understanding of healthcare in laboratory science. Think about all the different times that your blood was taken or various different samples were taken and they were sent to the lab.
Right.
That's the training that I got. So anything from blood bank, microbiology, molecular biology, chemistry, and everything in between. That's exactly what the core of the foundation of that educational system is all about. It was about understanding what goes into these various different laboratory tests, how to actually help interpret them, and how to do everything correctly so that the people in the laboratory, the professionals there, are actually turning around the results for the doctors, for the nurses, whoever it might be, to, at the end of the day, make an impact on patient care.
There's like a gazillion different blood tests for
Mhm.
different types of things, aren't there? And I was one of those people that, when you go for your annual physical and they say, we'll go to do your bloods. I naively thought that when they did that, it literally tested for everything. So I was like, oh, good, I'm fine then. They've all come back normal, which means that's good. And it was only then when I had to have some tests for something else. And I said, oh, no, I had my bloods recently. They were like, no, not for this. You hadn't. They're all different things. So there must be a gazillion of them, right?
Yes. So, and even keep in mind, right, when you're getting your blood taken, remember how many different tubes they're
Mm,
drawing with different colors on the top of the caps.
yep.
Those all mean something totally different.
Right.
And that's what you learn in this background is you understand again, why do you need a purple top tube versus a blue top tube? It all means something different, not just blood. Think about when you get your throat gets swabbed for strep throat, or if you have a wound that doesn't look like it's healing correctly, they swab it and they send it to the lab.
Okay.
That's everything that I learned, and that's everything where I started. And again, I think that is such a important field, and that's why I sort of talk about this as much as I can. Is there is this whole background of the lab and the professional world of laboratory science that sort of feeds the rest of healthcare. So I find it extremely important to talk about, especially as it relates to a career path into things like commercial and pharma and anything else on that list.
That was what I was going to ask you next, and you beat me to it as to what career paths can this take you? Because I've spoken to countless women as we've done the podcast, and it's like it's not been a linear path. I started with this, and I went to this, and I did this, and it's intriguing to me as to you start studying one aspect and then there's so many different directions you can go, which I think must be really hopeful for today's kind of graduates who are maybe struggling as to, is there going to be a career for me? What am I going to do? That there's so many options based on the courses that they've done.
That's exactly right. One thing that I learned early on in my career as a medical laboratory scientist is that there are a lot of different career paths out there. So I think it's extremely important to get an understanding and a core education and core experience in the lab because, again, that feeds the rest of everything. But, there are various different paths that you can take. And that's one thing that I really like to talk about. I just recently did a guest lecture at UT San Antonio for the class of 2026 in their medical laboratory science field. And I talked a lot about how, again, it's important to get that core understanding of laboratory science, but then you can jump to various different avenues. I personally took a jump over into industry and I worked as what was called a field application specialist. There was one person that was coming in to service the instruments that we were working on in the laboratory, and she said, "Hey, this might be a good career for you. You should take a jump and try it." And I did. And with that role, I was able to sort of jump out of the laboratory, but really keep that core understanding of the lab as part of my professional career. Working in that particular field was extremely exciting. I was able to go all over the country, setting up instruments and supporting various different validations of molecular equipment and laboratory tests and meeting a ton of different people. But again, it was sort of that background of lab that kept me, moving forward.
Okay. So just kind of bring me up to where your career went through that, because I know you've done a lot in kind of strategy and the business leadership element of it, coming from sort of definitely bench to industry. What sort of time frame are we looking at, and what sort of exciting things did you get involved in?
Absolutely. So again, I spent time in that field applications role, and then sales came along as an opportunity. And to be transparent, I never thought that sales would potentially be in my future, although it is in my blood. My mom was a car salesman, so maybe that sparked something in me. But I got into commercial, the commercial side of industry, and I started taking all of the knowledge that I knew about lab, about what it means to pick up a pipette and have to pipette 96 wells on a plate and miss one or miss two. And I took that and I turned it into a sales career, which again, I found extremely exciting because now not only did I get to help people come up to speed on various different technologies or why the lab is so important, now I actually got to talk about why they should utilize this particular piece of lab equipment, or they should use this particular assay versus a different assay. And I got to speak about why that's important and really build relationships around that as well. So
what early challenges did you face transitioning from that sort of hands-on scientist element through to the BD, really?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great question. I think a lot of the times, because I was so passionate about the lab, it was hard for me to think about leaving that. I really had built a great support system where I was. I built a network in terms of working within the laboratory. I saw myself moving up in that particular role and maybe, running the lab or being a lab director one day. But sometimes opportunities come your way and you have to take a jump or take a leap of faith, as you will, and see if it works out. And because of that leap of faith, it kind of, again, put me on the direction that I am today. If not for that, I'm sure I would have had a great career doing what I was doing because I loved it. But, when something comes along and it piques your interest, you go for it.
But if there were two women that were involved in changing your kind of career trajectory, tell me about them and the impact that they had. A brief interruption for a quick shout out to our sponsor, Facilitate, the team behind Advanced Therapies Week. If you've never been, it's the gathering for the global cell and gene therapy community, happening February 9th through 12th in San Diego. Over 2,000 leaders come together for real conversations, new ideas, and the kind of connections that actually move the industry forward. And this year, one of the standout parts is the Women in Advanced Therapies Congress, a space built to connect and uplift women and allies across biotech, science, investment, and strategy. It's always full of honest stories, strong voices, and real community. You can grab your ticket at facilitate.com/Advanced Therapies Week. And if you use the code She Leads 20, you'll get 20% off. That's SHELEADS 20. And I'm going to be there. So come and find me and say hello.
Sure. That was a little bit further down the road. So after I was working in clinical diagnostics for a while, a new opportunity came my way to jump over into pharma. Now, that's something I had never done before. I had never worked in pharma. I didn't know a lot about clinical trials. I didn't know a lot about oncology. I didn't know a lot about the pharma world. But I saw an opportunity again, and I went with it. There were two women that really put me on that path and were great mentors and leaders to me. Jennifer Rose is one of them, and Gina Waller is the other. These two women were extremely influential in my career path and setting me again sort of on this trajectory to where I am today. If not for the two of them, I don't know if I would have actually taken that jump. They were ones that said, we see something in you. And we want to see that blossom. And because of them, the rest is history.
What lessons did they teach you? I mean, they must have taught you something about recognizing potential in others, because I know you spend a lot of time and it's a real passion of yours in supporting and mentoring other women in the space. But what did they give you that you enjoy giving to others?
I think one thing that I learned from both of them is a sense of understanding and a sense of space to grow. That's one thing in such a fast-paced world nowadays that you don't get a lot of the time, is that area and that time to say, I'm jumping into something new. I'm taking an opportunity I never took before. I'm learning something I've never learned before in my life. And you are allowing me the space to learn on my own, but also making sure I don't fall.
Yep.
And I think that that was extremely important is, between working with both of them and, having really, Jennifer sort of walk me through the steps of what it means to do pharma business development. And again, allowing me to learn on my own versus I'll just do everything for you. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
Because we both know that doesn't work.
Yep. And that's some time ago. So having gone through that and continued what you do, what does great mentorship look like now to you in practice?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. It's a really good question because I do think mentorship and leadership and coaching can really come in various different forms. There's not one perfect model that everyone has to follow. Even if you say, this is the best model, I'm going to try to follow this, you're going to make your own iterations and you're going to make it your own. So I really think it's a difficult question to answer, but when it comes to mentorship and, supporting the next generation of women or young people who are coming into the STEM field, again, I think it's about letting them learn and find their passion on their own. Because if you start to direct people in one way, or if you start to sort of explain, like, this is the way that it should go and there's no deviations, I think that you don't allow for that learning and, again, that space to grow that I find is extremely important.
How do you fit that in with, because there's a balance between that
Sure.
and somebody who really, I've done this degree, I don't know what to do with it. I don't really know where to go with it. I think it's great if it's somebody who clearly knows their path and clearly
Sure.
knows where they want to go. But I think particularly in this climate at the moment, it's the more varied that you can be, the more different areas that you can look at, the more effective that is. How do you balance that with somebody who may know the career path they want to take and explore, and those that are like, I don't know, what would they do to help them?
Well, I see this a lot. I do a lot of work with an organization called Women in Bio with the Metro New York chapter.
Yep.
And I'm on the committee for Young Women in Bio. And with that, I do speak to, and we work with a lot of young women in the Metro New York area who are interested in STEM. But what I'll tell you is when we talk to them about what's important to them, we try to help them understand, what does that actually mean? What are you passionate about? What does that career path actually look like? And again, sort of allowing them to grow into what they feel might be the best path for them with guidance. I think that that's something that's extremely important. A lot of young women that we talk to are looking for, how do I take this next step? Where do I go from here? What can I do now in my high school career to make me a better applicant in the future? And again, it's about not exactly giving them the answers, but allowing them to come to those answers on their own so that they're learning and growing as they're, again, sort of going on that career path or that professional path.
So it's kind of, I guess, making them aware of the options and making them aware of the opportunities that are there for them, and then being ready to answer questions or show them how to explore that if there is an area that they think they might want to go down.
I would agree with that. I think, again, sort of allowing them or showing people, like you said, showing people the options. That's one thing that, again, I find extremely important is I talk to a lot of people who are in the laboratory field, who are working in hospital labs or, research labs or whatever it might be. And we talk a lot about what are the other alternative career paths out there? And again, showing people the option that you never would think that there would be an option in pharma, or there might be an option in industry, or, think about academia or whatever it might be. There are so many different options out there. And that's, again, why I think a wide network in terms of mentoring, in terms of support, in terms of leadership is extremely important to young women wanting to get into the field.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's fields that you may have sort of closed your mind off to, but then encouraged to investigate it further. To me, it always reminds me of going into a dress store and you pick up a dress and on the hanger, it just, you think, oh no, that's just not going to be right. and somebody encourages you to no, try it, just have a look, and then you put it on and it looks amazing. So I kind of think about that in terms of people that go, oh no, I couldn't do that job, that wouldn't suit me at all. Explore it, try it, you never know, right?
That's exactly it. Honestly, that's a great analogy, because how many times has the sales associate come over and said, just try it, I think it's going to look great on you, right? And then there you go, new dress.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times it's happened to me, but which is probably why I use it as an analogy. So talk to me about Women in Bio. I know they're a very, very effective group, and there's chapters all over the country, right? Young people, what point in their career should people kind of reach out to Women in Bio and look to get involved there?
That's a great question. Like you said, it is a national organization doing a lot of great work. And actually, I found it through one of the people in my network. I had reached out and said, "Hey, I saw you're working in Women in Bio. Tell me about it." And we got on the phone, we talked about it, and that's why I joined, is because one of the strong women that I knew put me again in that direction. It's a great organization, and there's various different levels of ways that women can get involved. I particularly work in the Young Women in Bio area, which again I find extremely important and rewarding, given the importance that I put on getting women into this field. But there, like I said, various different levels. So there's women of anyone who's interested in STEM can join this organization and really continue to, work with expand their network, mentor people, work with peers, whatever it might be. And again, just sort of move through their professional career at any stage. So I can't give you it's supposed to be for, this age or that age. It's for everyone.
Excellent. So, and I guess people would just Google Women in Bio to find where their nearest chapter is, and then reach out. I do have to say also, any of the dealings that I've had with people from various chapters of Women in Bio, they are super helpful, always willing to be supportive. So again, I know our audience of graduate level people tend to be a little bit intimidated. I don't know if I could reach out to this person, or I don't know what to say to those people. They are just amazing to reach out to. So I don't think anybody would have a problem if they were reaching out to somebody from the Women in Bio section. Give them a call. I'm sure they'll be there to help you.
Everyone that I've talked to and worked with within the organization is extremely helpful. And again, we're all there for the same reason. Maybe different ways that we got there, but we're all there for the same reason. And you can feel that the second you start to work.
Absolutely. And I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here now, because you're there in the field. I'm a recruiter, so apart from my podcasts where I get schooled by brilliant women like you, I'm not, my finger isn't on the pulse of that per se. But looking at the current climate and looking at where we are now, what would you say to young women and those that are maybe struggling with, should I switch my major to something else, or should I do something else? I know I've got the passion for it, but I don't want to be somewhere where I'm not earning any money. What's your advice to them right now?
I'll say there's one thing that comes up when you ask that question. There was one person about a year and a half ago that came to me, and I was struggling through certain decisions. I wasn't sure what to do. I had a bunch of different options in front of me, and I had to make decisions based on that. And that person, he told me, he said, follow your gut. He said, follow your gut, Brittany. It'll point you in the right direction. He was right. So I will take that, and I will give that as my advice. Is at the end of the day, you build your network, you work with mentors, you work with coaches, you work with leadership, whatever it might be, to understand what options are out there for you. But at the end of the day, you have to follow your gut, and internally, what the right direction is. Yeah. You just actually have to sometimes force yourself to take that step.
And face it. It's like, I know what it is. I know what I have to do. If somebody's going to offer me a miracle exception, but I know they're not. So as you say, just go with your gut and go for it. And absolutely. Another area with women leadership, what's your views on women leaders taking that chance on emerging talent? Somebody did it. People did it for you. What's your feel for the temperature out there of today's women leaders being prepared to do that for others?
I think it's a great question. And what excites me the most right now is actually seeing women that I know or women in my network or just women in the news about moving up in leadership roles. I find that extremely important. And again, I think that that's where that comes into taking a chance on, someone that comes across your desk as a resume that might have no experience in the area that you're looking for, but might be someone that would be good for your organization. So I don't think it's, just women or men. I think it's across the board. Is you have to really, when it comes to bringing in new talent or thinking about adding people to the team or promoting someone, again, I think you really need to understand what's important to this person. What are they passionate about? Are they in it for the right reason? All those good things. And again, would they be a good asset to this team? Because I think, again, that's extremely important. Team bonding and team culture.
Yep.
I think that is one thing that can make or break, various different groups.
Absolutely. And those are not the things that are on resumes, particularly written resumes, which I'm seeing more and more of. And I just think it's so important for people to look beyond that when they're looking for tomorrow's leaders to join their company or their organization. Is the importance of that really talking to somebody about the key areas that you're looking for in your company rather than what's on a resume or on a piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Because more and more and more now, resumes are going to be able to be made to look however you want them to look and say whatever you want them to say. So it's really important to go beyond that and make sure the reality of the person behind the AI facade.
I would 150% agree with you on that one. It's a little bit scary right now in terms of the AI revolution, but I do think it's important for different reasons.
Oh yeah, no, and I think it has its place. I mean, obviously, I'm speaking as a recruiter, and so for me, what I'm advocating is, what we do is we cut beyond the AI and make sure that what the real person is, and we encourage everybody else to do that. So that it was funny because I was speaking to an HR contact a few days ago, and they had posted a job on LinkedIn, and they had a number of applications, but they had 3 applications that were from 3 different parts of the country, and all of the applications were exactly the same, word for word. The resume was the same. So really what they'd done, and what more and more people do, is put the job description into the AI, put their resume in and say, make my resume fit this job description, which I'm pretty sure you can make anything fit anything if you need to. But if you're going to do that, at least then put it into your own voice and modify it. But these 3 people from 3 completely different states sent in the same application practically word for word.
That's interesting.
Challenging times, right? Very interesting times. So what does the future look like for you? Now, I know you were an honorary, the ASCPS, is that right? ASCP. You were on their list of 40 under 40 for 2024.
Yes, I was. 2024 seems so long ago at this point.
I know, right? I know. I wish it was that. Yeah, but everything goes so quickly. It could just as easily have been yesterday. So, what did that do for your life? Did it change your life overnight? Or?
Well, I think it was more, again, about visibility too. And I hate to keep going back to this, but visibility to alternative pathways in laboratory science, alternative careers. That's what I wrote my application on about. Again, there is a whole different world that, with a strong background in laboratory science, you can actually go into. That's what I wanted to talk about. And that was my reason for wanting to apply to the program and then continue to try to talk about it. I actually found some like-minded people when I went, into the award ceremony. And with that, now we're working together to actually talk more about that as much as we can.
Fantastic.
Because what's important is a lot of people are leaving the laboratory field. And we need more skilled professionals to come into that field, which is why I just continue to talk.
Well, you've promoted it to the hilt. So hoping that we have a major influx of people into the field. But what does the future look like for you, Brittany? What's on the
Great.
horizon for you?
So I just recently joined the board of directors for AI Arthritis, which is the International Foundation for Autoimmune and Autoinflammatory Arthritis. Extremely important organization. I would never have found this organization if not for my background in pharma. So because of working with that organization, I've now really opened a new chapter in terms of supporting, a different side of the pharma world. I
Okay.
find it extremely rewarding. And again, working with a lot of great women leaders there as well.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, listen, I can't believe how quickly time has gone. It's just like we were only just started talking 2 minutes ago. I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us today and sharing your story. And I'm sure you're going to get an influx of people reaching out to you. Can you tell me about such and such? So it's been great to cover all of that with you. With whatever you do next, I wish you every success and keep mentoring those younger generations so that we have a strong future within pharma, labs, wherever the field takes us. But have a fantastic weekend and thank you for joining us.
Chris, thank you so much.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me for this episode of She Leads Biotech. If today's story inspired you, subscribe, follow, and comment. Because when one woman's voice is heard, many more find theirs. Until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and keep leading.